So we're leaving Bridget Phillipson now to go live to Dover, where Reform UK spokesman for Home Affairs Zia Yusuf is laying out his plans for an ICE-style immigration agency.
Invasion. Well, how dare I? Wash my mouth out with soap and water. But 195,000 people later, it is difficult to think that the word actually wasn't highly appropriate in every sense. I've even filmed people in the Channel on the 12-mile line throwing their iPhones and their passports into the English Channel so that they can't be traced. I've talked repeatedly about the national security threat that these people pose. But you know, above all, what really upsets the British public is the total sense of unfairness. And that applies not just to those whose families have lived for many generations in Britain. It also applies to many who've come in the course of the last 50 years, legally, gone through the process and moved on to settled status and British citizenship. And it is that sense of unfairness that has made this an issue where there is overwhelming public support for stopping the boats. But what do we get? We get failed Rwanda schemes, we get judges in Strasbourg stopping aeroplanes taking off. And actually, we've had every single Prime Minister since David Cameron saying very clearly, if you come into this country illegally, you will be removed. None of them have meant it. Most farcical of all, of course, is the current Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, with his smash the gangs concept, which of course has been a total failure, and now under his premiership more people across the Channel than under any other Prime Minister. So Zia Yusuf today, this is his first major outing as our shadow Home Secretary. We'll talk about that. But there is a deeper issue, and that is legal migration. Something that we had basically been living with throughout the late 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and all through that period of over half a century. Net migration into Britain averaged about 30,000 people a year. The Labour government decided to open the doors, all in the name of diversity. And the Conservatives, especially under Boris Johnson, with the Boris wave, opened up the doors unconditionally in a way that no longer could the argument be made that immigration was good for the economy. Since Boris Johnson became Prime Minister, it is very clearly bad for the economy, and goodness knows what the long-term cost of the Boris wave is going to be. Some independent experts reckon it could be as high as £200 billion. And let's be clear, nobody in Britain has ever voted for a government that promised mass migration into our country. Nobody has ever been asked about this issue. And I thought Matthew Said in the Sunday Times yesterday summed up his trip to Gorton and Denton very, very well when he talked about balkanised Britain, meeting women in the market who had little or no understanding even of the English language, despite having lived in this country for a long time. So rather than diversity, actually what we've got in many of our towns and cities is division. Deep inbuilt cultural division, and a growing sense amongst huge numbers of British people that something is going horribly wrong. Unless we are able to provide a proper democratic antidote to this, then I fear that we will see a rise of a really worrying, dangerous form of extreme right ethno-nationalism. And I think we're beginning, over the last couple of weeks already, to see some specimens of it. Nobody over the last quarter of a century has done more to defeat the genuine, intolerant, abhorrent, extreme far right than me. We did it with the British National Party and we'll do it with whoever else follows. But it's important we get a grip on this because there is no issue other than legal and illegal immigration that has broken the bond of trust between the voters and those that govern us more than this issue. And I have spoken out consistently on it for now nearly 25 years. But I repeat the point I made at the conference last week. This is no longer a one-man band. Not that it ever was, with all you lovely people. And the biggest membership of any party in the country. But I will leave the rest of this debate and the solutions we're offering to Zia. Thank you.
There's nothing more important than keeping your money and your identity safe online. And with so many VPN options available, choosing the right one can be pretty daunting. But this video's sponsor, ExpressVPN, is making the choice easier for GB News viewers. ExpressVPN is offering up to 75% off, plus 4 extra months free. That's top-level security from just £2.49 a month, and you're covered by their 30-day money-back guarantee. So just click the link in this video's description or scan the QR code now. Remember, when you're online, you are often sharing personal data, so hackers can steal your information, your passwords, your photos, and your bank details in just seconds. But ExpressVPN encrypts your connection, making it virtually impossible for hackers to access your personal information. So why choose ExpressVPN? Well, it couldn't be easier to use. With just one click, you are protected. And ExpressVPN uses military-grade AES 256 encryption, which is the same standard trusted by the US government to guard their classified information. With their new tiered plans, you can protect up to 14 devices at once and manage passwords securely. Live chat support is available 24/7, and it typically connects you in under a minute with a real person. Click the link in this video's description or scan the QR code to get up to 75% off ExpressVPN, plus 4 months extra for free. Start protecting yourself today with ExpressVPN.
Thank you very much, Nigel, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. At the heart of any civilized nation lies a social contract, a simple understanding that binds people together. You get up early, you work, you pay your taxes, you play by the rules, you raise your children to know right from wrong, and you obey the law. In return, the state owes you something basic and non-negotiable: a country that still exists, borders that mean something, streets that are safe, a home that is recognizably yours. If the state cannot guarantee that, then it has broken its contract with its own people. But just look at what the legacy parties have done to Britain. Take a look at our streets, our towns, our cities. Our borders have been left open and undefended. Knife crime stalks entire neighbourhoods. English girls were raped on an industrial scale while those in authority looked the other way. Tens of thousands of men have arrived on our shores and been given hospitality at the taxpayers' expense. Ladies and gentlemen, that social contract has not merely been broken, it has been shattered. As Home Secretary, my priority will be simple. The British people come first. Their safety, their prosperity, their future. That is what guides Nigel Farage. It's what guides me and our party. Every decision we take, every law we enforce, every policy we fight for flows from one simple principle: put Britain and its people above all else. I will be relentless and unflinching in pursuit of this objective. Look, I'm the son of immigrants myself. My parents came here in the early 1980s. And when they did, they had to travel where the work was. My mother frequently told me how welcoming the people of Britain have been to them. They went from Cardiff to Cornwall to Bells Hill, where I was born, to Cambridge, to London. My childhood memories are punctuated with stories of the warmth, the generosity and open hearts shown to my parents. This country has given me every opportunity. It gave me a tremendous education, the opportunity to start, build and sell a successful business. I'm eternally grateful. And that's why I'm in politics. I love my country. And it's why, as Home Secretary, I will not allow the generosity of the great British people to be taken advantage of. My parents have given decades of service to the NHS, so I know well the huge contribution migrants have made and can make to this country. But when my parents came to this country, the levels of legal immigration were what illegal migration levels are today. For years, the Tory Labour Uni Party has looked the other way while the very fabric of our society has been under attack. We've been told to accept open borders, that a country that spends £60 billion a year on defence should stand powerless as men arrive in small boats day after day. That we should shrug as our streets change, knife crime rises, and the traditions and culture of Britain are steadily and heartbreakingly eroded. Well, I say to you today, those things are not inevitable. They are the deliberate choices of weak men and women who lack the courage, lack the spine, and lack the moral clarity to defend the country they were elected to serve. Well, here's the thing. I do not accept this. Nigel Farage does not accept this. You know what? The great British people do not accept this, and we will end it. The Tories promised in 4 consecutive manifestos to cut net migration. They said that they'd bring it down to the tens of thousands. They left office with that number at almost 1 million. In some, they imported 6 million net new people over their 14 years. And they left the country with fewer hospital beds and just 482 additional prison places. Is it any wonder that British people struggle to get a GP appointment, why tens of thousands have to wait 24 hours or more for a bed in accident and emergency? Or why people feel so unsafe and criminals are released early? The population explosion has brought British public services to the brink of collapse. But ladies and gentlemen, this only scratches the surface of the Tory betrayal. Because we can't just look at stats. We must look at the human costs. We must look at the faces of the victims. We must look at the lives forever altered by a system that prizes the rights of foreign criminals over the safety and rights of the British people. Consider the heartbreaking case of a 12-year-old girl called Amy. Mohammed Ibrahim, a man who had no right to be in this country, a man who was driving while disqualified, struck little Amy in a devastating hit and run. He did not stop his car. He did not rush to her side. He didn't call for help. He left a 12-year-old girl dying under the wheels of his car, and he fled like a coward. Hours after that horrific crash, Amy's grief-stricken father had to make the decision that no parent should ever have to make. He had to give the order to turn off his own daughter's life support machine. You would think that the immediate consequence for the man who did this would be the heaviest sentence the law allows, followed by the immediate deportation from the United Kingdom. That's what any reasonable person would assume. Well, that's not what happened. The most senior judges at the Immigration and Asylum Tribunal stepped in. They looked at the case of a man who killed a British child, and they prevented her killer from being deported. They cited Article 8 of the European Convention on Human Rights. They cited his right to a family life. Following that ruling, Amy's father gave a statement to the BBC. And in my humble opinion, his words should be inscribed on the walls of the Home Office. You work hard, you play by the rules, you pay your taxes, and this is how you get treated. What does that say about politicians, our leaders, and the legal system? It's a joke. How can he say he's deprived of his right to a family life? The only person deprived of a family life is me. Amy was my only family. They are obsessed with the rights of others, from Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Iraq. Where are my human rights? Where indeed? Well, that was in the year 2010. 2010. The Conservative Party had just begun their 14 years in power. They promised to deal with this. In fact, David Cameron wrote personally to Amy's father to say that he would. And yet here we are. 15 years on, 15 years of betrayal. Since that terrible day, many more British citizens have been killed, have been raped, and they have been robbed by people who broke into this country illegally. The fact that the United Kingdom has still not even left the ECHR is to the eternal shame of the political class. Well, I promise you this. When Nigel Farage becomes our Prime Minister, gone will be the days when your rights are trampled in the service of foreign citizens.